I've seen things that most people can't even begin to comprehend. Experiences that defy everything we've been told. I was in a state of complete paralysis, unable to move, blind, and feeling the intense heat of flames consuming me. But then something extraordinary happened. I left my physical form behind, and as I drifted away, I found myself entering a breathtaking crystal city. There, I was not alone. A presence, something higher, perhaps my own consciousness, merged with me. I stood before 13 magnificent beings, and one of them began to shimmer, their energy pulsing in a way that was beyond words. It was a moment of transformation, a glimpse into a reality where nothing is as it seems, and everything holds a deeper meaning. The being of light spoke to me, its voice filled with urgency. If you continue down the path you've been on, living in the shadows of past wars like Vietnam, Korea, or World War II, this is the future you'll face. There was a question that lingered in my mind, one I knew I would have to answer for myself. If you were to look at your life from a higher perspective, would you feel proud of the difference you made? It hit me hard. There I was, just a tough guy, a bully, a fist-fighting Marine. I realized that the person I had become was far from the one I needed to be. What had I truly contributed? What impact had I left? I never cared about spirituality or deep conversations about the afterlife. I grew up in the Deep South, where the idea of damnation was drilled into us. We all knew where we were headed, at least according to the strict religious teachings that surrounded me. So, I paid no attention to anything that suggested otherwise. That was until one day everything changed. While talking on the phone, I was struck by lightning. In that moment, I learned something profound, something that I could never deny. In that moment, I realized I was more than just a physical body. I was a spiritual being. There was no denying it. I had chosen to be here in this very moment. The truth hit me like a hammer, and there was no going back. But the shock wasn't just spiritual, it was physical. In that moment, I felt as though the flames of torment were consuming every part of me. My eyes were sealed shut, and the darkness around me was suffocating. My body refused to respond, yet my spirit was breaking free. The lightning had damaged my nerve endings, leaving me in a state of constant agony. I had to grow up fast. I had to learn how to walk again, how to stop being helpless, how to face the fact that I was supposed to be dead. Doctors gave me 6 months to live. That was all they saw. But deep down, I knew something else. I knew that I wasn't just a body. I was chosen for something bigger, something I couldn't yet understand. And that knowledge changed everything about how I saw myself and the world around me. I chose to be here. I chose this time, this moment in history. Somehow, I knew that this was the life I was meant to live. And as I stood there, facing the truth of my existence, it became clear. I wasn't just here by chance. I had come with a purpose, a breath, a mission to fulfill. That's who I was, and that's who I am. From that moment on, I was no longer the same person. The events that followed left an everlasting mark on my soul. Once I left the confines of my physical body, I was granted something profound, the life review. It was as if time itself unraveled, and I was given the chance to witness my entire life unfold before me, like a 360-degree panoramic view. Every moment, every detail was there, nothing missed, nothing hidden. I saw it all, and not as a passive observer. I saw it from a second-person perspective, as though I were my own best friend. But it didn't stop there. I didn't just witness my life. I became every person I had ever met. I felt what they felt. I experienced every interaction, every choice, and every consequence from their point of view. Most of what I felt was pain, anguish, regret, and the weight of the suffering I had caused in my life. There were moments of good too, but they were often overshadowed by the brutality of my actions, the harshness of my decisions. And then, somewhere in the depths of this experience, I came to a realization. I saw the world for what it truly was, a place with structure, with goals, with responsibilities. It wasn't some whimsical, carefree existence. It was real. It was grounded in laws and energetic patterns that shaped every interaction and every outcome. I understood then that the world was fair. No one gets away with anything. Every action, every choice has a ripple effect. It's not about escaping consequences or living without accountability. The life we live is defined by intentional actions, and those actions, whether good or bad, always come back to us. There are no loopholes in the universe. Everything we do matters. Forgiveness. It's one of the most powerful forces I've ever encountered. In the moment when you choose to forgive, you step to the side, out of the line of fire. You create space, allowing the divine system to handle the other person while you stand in between, free from the burden of anger or resentment. It's a form of freedom that only comes when you release the grip of the past and allow yourself to heal. When I had the chance to review my life, to witness it from a second-person perspective, something shifted within me. I didn't just see my actions. I became every person I ever encountered. I felt their pain, their joy, and the consequences of our interactions. It was in this profound moment that I asked myself a question, one that reverberated through my soul. If God, or whatever you hold to be divine, couldn't come today, and you were left alone to review your life, what difference did you make? That question pushed me toward a new path. I didn't just want to exist, I wanted to create something meaningful. I became a hospice volunteer. I built the largest end-of-life care program for dying veterans in American history, and I co-authored the standard end-of-life care model, now used by the Veterans Administration. In 1984, when I first arrived at the VA, they didn't have a hospice or palliative care program. Today, they have both, and I'm proud to say I played a part in that transformation. As I reflect on my life, I realize that these experiences, these actions, are what gave my life meaning. I wasn't just existing, I was making a difference. And then came the moment of revelation, the panoramic life review. I was guided to a place of unimaginable beauty, a crystal city made of light, glowing softly like the city lights on a mountain at night. As I entered this ethereal realm, a being, perhaps my higher self, merged with me. There, before me, stood 12 beings. One of them, positioned in the upper right, began to shimmer. The light it emitted was like nothing I had ever seen. Pastels of red, orange, blue, green and gold, swirling together, creating an energy that felt both powerful and serene. It was as if the light was communicating, sending something to me, something I couldn't fully grasp. But I knew it was important. It was a message I was meant to receive. When I entered this realm, it was unlike anything I had ever imagined. It wasn't the peaceful, serene space we often associate with heaven. No, this was different. I could smell the burning of flesh, the decaying of bodies, the rot of something deeply tragic. There were buildings, green landscapes, and a presence that seemed both haunting and real. I could smell the air around me as if I were truly there, as if I was physically experiencing it. And then, as quickly as it had begun, the scene would recede, fading away as I moved to the next one. This process, this experience, unfolded in a series of 12 distinct boxes I traveled through. Each one revealed a new aspect of what the future might hold, each offering a glimpse into the consequences of humanity's choices. A being of light accompanied me, guiding me through these scenes, speaking with an urgency I couldn't ignore. The message was clear. If we continued down the same destructive path, endlessly repeating the mistakes of wars past, like Vietnam, Korea, and World War II, this is what we would face. These weren't just random visions or dreams. They were possibilities, warnings about the future. I wrote all of this down in 1977. It took me 2 years just to learn how to walk again after the lightning strike, learning to feed myself, regain my basic functions. It was all part of the journey. But what I saw during that time wasn't about me. It wasn't my prophecy. The beings of light showed me these visions, and I believe the only part I played in all of it was my ability to interpret what they were showing me. I transcribed these insights, put them into a book in 1993. But I knew even then that this wasn't just for me. It was for everyone. I needed people to understand what I had seen, what I had learned, because this wasn't just about the path I was walking. It was about the path humanity was on. So I wrote that book. I wanted others to see the reality of what I had experienced, to recognize the spiritual awakening that comes with these kinds of experiences. Because for those of us who have gone through it, the hardest part is knowing where to turn after. Realizing that we are spiritual beings, and that there is something greater than this physical world, creates a kind of crisis. It forces you to confront the illusion that has shaped everything you once believed. The truth is, the way we've been taught to view death is all wrong. The fear of death, the belief that it's the end, that's the real lie. No one truly dies. We are eternal beings, and what happens after this life is not some final chapter. It's just another step in the journey. If we continue down the destructive path of war, hatred, and violence, we will eventually reach the catastrophic consequences I saw in those 12 boxes. I saw it all: Chernobyl, Fukushima, climate change, which I called climate religion, and the pandemic. These were things I described in detail long before they became global issues, and they all came to pass. The most powerful truth I discovered was that no one truly dies. Death is simply a transition, not an end. Think about it. When we reflect on the moments that matter most to us, we often think of love, connection, and growth. These are the elements that transcend our physical existence. The fear of death is just an illusion created by the body, not the soul. Anyone who tells you that death is the end is either lying, ignorant, or has fallen prey to the false constructs of religion or government. These are the ultimate delusions. And yet, we still hold on to them, as if we can escape the truth. The real journey lies in understanding that we are spiritual beings, and death is just another part of the cycle, not the end of it. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I do know this. When you begin to think about reincarnation and the continuity of the soul, something shifts within you. It changes everything. And though I don't have direct experience with reincarnation, I believe that the more we open ourselves to these possibilities, the more we begin to see the world for what it truly is, a realm of infinite possibilities where our actions have consequences that echo far beyond this lifetime. Do I believe in reincarnation? Absolutely I do. I've seen the endless possibilities that unfold once you cross over to the other side. It's not like we're simply left to float around aimlessly. No, the truth is, we are constantly offered choices, as if someone hands you a flyer with options, each one leading to something new, something powerful. Imagine this. You're in heaven, or whatever you want to call it, and suddenly someone offers you a flyer. What would you like to do next? It asks. Would you like to hug someone, to hold them, to feel their energy separate from you? You might think, hugging in heaven? But we communicate and connect. We don't hug. Well, here's the catch. This is where things get mind-blowing. The opportunity to hug someone, to experience them in their full, separate form, is more than just a simple gesture. It's about co-creating with the divine. You realize that through love, the act of holding someone can combine energies in such a way that new life is created. A human being, a spiritual vessel that enters the physical world to fulfill its purpose. Now, think about that for a second. Practicing being a creator, being able to shape life in such a profound way, that's powerful. That's not some drab existence we're leading. We are here to play, to create, to love, and to grow. We are magnificent beings, spiritual beings with dignity, direction, and purpose. The only thing that can derail us is when we let something affect our dignity. And too often, that something is the opinions we have of ourselves, shaped by the rules of religions, institutions, or governments, never by our divine selves. We allow these external forces to skew our sense of self, but deep down, we are limitless. I speak from experience. I've been through more than most could ever imagine. In 1997, after being struck by lightning, I underwent brain surgery, then open heart surgery. 3 days later, I went into cardiac arrest and had to be resuscitated. Not once, but twice. Yet, none of this scared me the way it probably would have before. Because I know what comes next. I've seen it. I've spent 47 years as a hospice volunteer, walking with over 2,000 people from this world to the next. I've been there for 358 last breaths, and for the past 50 years, I've dedicated myself to studying death and the afterlife. I can tell you, from personal experience and from those who have crossed over, that death isn't the end. It's a transition, a shift into something far greater. In fact, 95% of people who've had near-death experiences describe the same thing. They lift out of their bodies and watch themselves from above. Whether they're in a hospital bed, in a car wreck, or wherever, they observe their body from a distance, realizing in that moment that the physical form is not who they truly are. So, let me say it clearly, you will never die. The body might fade, but the spirit, your essence, goes on. This is the truth I've come to understand. And I hope that those of you listening, especially in your generation, understand this too. The fear of death is the ultimate illusion. Once you embrace the idea that life is infinite, everything changes. You begin to see the world and yourself through a whole new lens. This is the real journey, and it's one you can embark on right now. When I first experienced leaving my body, it was a revelation that completely shattered my understanding of who I truly am. The moment I lifted out of myself and saw my physical form lying there, lifeless, I realized something profound. I am not my body. This realization is one of the core elements of the near-death experience. It's not just a fleeting thought, it's a deep, life-altering truth. The moment you understand that you are not confined to your body, everything changes. Your perception of existence shifts. As you transition, you begin to acclimate to the world you're leaving behind. You start to perceive the laws and dynamics that govern your non-physical self. For anyone who's had a near-death experience, this is a common theme: lifting out of your body and seeing yourself, often in a hospital bed or on an operating table. That was the case for me for most of my experiences. But there was one that stood out. When I had brain surgery, I was positioned at the foot of the bed, watching the surgeon drill into my head. I wasn't just observing from my usual vantage point. I was in a completely different position, one that gave me a new perspective on what was happening to my body. Looking at it from a larger cosmic viewpoint, what happened to me, being struck by lightning, suffering a heart attack, and then brain surgery, was a spiritual journey. It wasn't just about my physical body. Each of these events was a collision of the mental, physical, and spiritual. These are what I call cosmological processes, each one revealing a deeper layer of truth about who we really are. I've been through experiences that align with the teachings of secret societies, and let me tell you, there's a deep, underlying truth to what they discuss, even if it's not always spoken about openly. What I'm telling you today, Lauren, is not just a personal reflection. I'm sharing this because I know that in the next few years, the truth about death and the systems that shape it will no longer be hidden. The industries that profit from sickness and death, the pharmaceutical giants, the food processing companies, and the agricultural conglomerates, all of them are going to be brought into the light. People will begin to realize the truth that has been kept from them for so long. One of the biggest deceptions that the world has failed to recognize is this: if an industry is built around healthcare but driven by profit motives, it's not actually concerned with making people well. It's a model that profits from keeping people sick. Think about it. Why cure a disease when you can treat it over and over again? Why offer real solutions when you can control people's diets, keep them in a state of poor health, and determine their ailments? The system thrives on the fear of death. It capitalizes on the belief that we are our bodies, that our physical existence is all there is. But what if that isn't true? What if in reality we are spiritual beings, and death is merely a transition, not the end? The truth is that when you break free from the illusion of being just a physical body, you start to see the world in an entirely new way. And when you begin to understand that death is not the final chapter, those who try to scare you into submission with threats of hell or damnation become laughable. These are not truths. They are control mechanisms. They are designed to keep you trapped in fear and compliance. In all of my experiences, whether during my near-death experiences or throughout my journey in hospice care, there has never been any kind of hellish experience. Yes, I've heard stories of people encountering hell-like situations in their near-death experiences, but I've also studied the subject deeply. And the truth is, the vast majority of these experiences, around 97%, are not nearly as terrifying as facing your own soul. When you come face to face with yourself, with your own motives, your choices, and the way you've lived your life, that is the most challenging, transformative moment. No hell in any near-death experience I've studied comes close to that inner confrontation. Let's talk about those 3% who have had what they describe as hellish experiences. I've been in the world of death and dying for 50 years, and I can tell you that of that 3%, about 1.5% are understandable. They've gone through experiences that involve deep suffering or unresolved emotional trauma. But the remaining 1.5%, I have no explanation for those. They are beyond anything I can grasp. Now, I can't say definitively whether there is a hell or not. But what I do know is this: the fear of death, the fear of punishment, and the fear of hell are all part of the same illusion. They are designed to keep you from understanding the truth, that you are not your body, and you are not confined to this physical existence. When you realize that death isn't the end, and that your essence continues, it's a liberation. It frees you from the fears that control so many of us. It allows you to live with purpose and meaning, knowing that your true self transcends the limitations of the body. This is the truth I've come to understand, and I share it with you so that you too can begin to see the world and yourself differently. The journey is not about fearing what comes next. It's about embracing the eternal nature of your soul. What I'm working on now is something I like to call the Brinkley Center. It wasn't a name I picked. It was something that came from the collective, from the people who work with me. It's not about me, though. It's about creating a space where people can come to discover 3 undeniable truths. The first truth is this: you will never die. A lot of people are grieving, facing PTSD, or even suicidal, especially with the chaos and change happening in the world. But if you truly understand that you're not your body and that you are, in essence, an electrical being that can shift your consciousness completely, those 3 truths are enough to make you rethink everything. Let me break it down for you. Think of it this way. If you own a cell phone, I can prove that you're an electrical being. It's that simple. The truth is, you're not your body. You've been dead the moment you look at your body, and those who have had out-of-body experiences, whether they've died or not, have seen their body from outside. It's not an illusion. If you talk to anyone who's had a near-death experience, you'll hear them say, "You will never die." And once you hear that, once you understand it, the fear of death disappears. I've spent my life studying death, and I know it. I know what it means to face the end of this life, but I also know there's no end. That's why I created these centers. I was told to do this, and it became clear to me that death would no longer be something that's hidden. It would become a worldwide phenomenon, something we couldn't ignore. The way we view death, especially in healthcare, will drastically change in the coming years. I predicted, back in 1976, that the battle for humanity's soul would be fought in healthcare. That's where the true war is, because healthcare isn't about curing, it's about treating, and the more you treat, the more you control. Look at how pharmaceutical companies, food processors, and giant corporations profit from keeping us sick. They don't want us well. The system is set up to keep us in a state of illness, to keep us relying on medication, on control. It's a system that thrives on fear, fear of death, fear of illness, fear of the unknown. But what if that fear is just an illusion? What if, when you truly understand who you are, the fear vanishes? I've walked this path, and I've been to the other side. And I can tell you that once you step outside the limitations of the body, everything changes. When I say I've been where you are, I mean it. I've had my own near-death experiences, and I've been a hospice volunteer for over 47 years. I've been with thousands of people, helping them make their transition from this life to the next. And every time I sit with someone, I know that I can be the most effective, the most understanding, because I've been where they are. I understand what it's like to be on the edge of life and death. When I think about the state of the world, especially when I see the violence in the Holy Land, people killing each other in the name of religion, I'm reminded of how much fear drives our behavior. The way we're taught to fear death, to believe that if we don't follow certain rules, we'll go to hell. That's all a lie. Religion tells us that we'll go to heaven or hell. Governments tell us that this physical life is all there is. And healthcare institutions profit off our fear and suffering. But none of that is true. And the moment you realize it, everything changes. I've seen the world change, and I've seen the impact of fear. But I've also seen what happens when we choose to embrace the truth. That death is not the end. It's just a part of the journey. It's a transition. And once you realize that, once you understand that you're not your body and you will never truly die, your whole perspective shifts. In my work, whether it's as a hospice volunteer or just talking to people about life, I don't preach about near-death experiences. I don't talk about the things I saw on the other side. Instead, I talk about helping people face their fears, structure closure, and make peace with their lives. Because that's the real work. I've studied death for 50 years. I've been at the bedside of thousands of people, and I've seen how they transition. I've helped them understand that there is no reason to fear death. When I'm at the bedside of someone who is terrified of what's to come, I can't think of a higher calling than to help them find peace. It's a gift I can give, not just to them, but to honor the God I believe in, the source that has given me this knowledge and understanding. There's nothing more sacred to me than being there, in those final moments, guiding someone through the process of letting go, of finding peace, and of embracing the truth that life never truly ends. And when it comes time for people to leave this world, they'll experience something extraordinary. When you lift out of your body, when you have your life review, you'll see the entire span of your life. You'll see everyone you've ever loved, everyone who's ever loved you. And yes, even your pets. It's a celebration. It's not about wandering in the clouds, listening to harps. It's about reconnecting with the energy that binds everything together. You reconnect with the force, with the field, and once you do, you expand outward. You're no longer trapped in a body, you're eternal, and you're free to explore, to make a difference, to find opportunities to help others. This is what I believe, and it's the truth I want to share. We are not here just to suffer or to be distracted by the illusions of life. We are here to make a difference, to live with purpose, and to create. The system, the fear-driven system, tries to distract us, tells us we're going to die, and uses that fear to control us. But death isn't something to fear. It's something we've all experienced, and it's something we'll all experience again. The key is to understand that you are not your body. And when we all come to understand this, the world will change. As death becomes a more prevalent part of our collective experience, whether through pandemics, wars, or other global crises, we need to remember that we are never close to the end. We are on the brink of awakening. And we are closer than ever to the truth. We are closer than ever to realizing that we will never die. When you see something wrong, what do you do about it? As an American, the first thing you might think is, I'll call my congressman or my senator. You pick up the phone, state your name, express your concern, and make your voice heard. You take action. But here's the thing. Even though I'm just one person, I do this regularly. I don't hesitate to call, to speak my mind, to tell them what I believe is right. It may just be my voice, but it's a voice that's being heard, and it's a small step in the right direction. It may feel like a tiny ripple in a vast ocean, but that ripple can create waves. I know what it feels like to be terrified by the enormity of the world's problems. It's overwhelming at times. I know the weight of feeling powerless in a world full of injustice, pain, and suffering. But I also know that we are spiritual beings, and as such, we are not here to sit idly by and watch the world go by. We came here for a purpose, to take action, to be brave, and to make a difference. We didn't come to be afraid. We came to be courageous and to find ways to contribute to the world's healing. Each of us has the power to take action, no matter how small it seems. If we all start with our own voices, our own actions, we begin to create a collective force for change. We don't have to wait for someone else to lead us. The change begins with us. And let's not forget, if you're here today in this moment, you are part of the Light-Bearer team. You came here to birth a new age, one that is already unfolding around you. I may be older, and I know my time is limited, but I think about the world my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren will inherit. I want them to be brave, to face the world with the knowledge that they are not their bodies, that they are eternal, electrical beings capable of greatness. The meaning of life isn't about accumulating wealth or status. It's about learning, growing, and connecting with others. One of the most basic things we wanted to experience as spiritual beings is breathing, to feel what it's like to exist in a physical body. We wanted to experience love in its truest form, not just as a concept, but as an action. We wanted to feel the embrace of a hug, to connect with someone on a soul level. This is why I do what I do, to remind people of the deeper truth about who they really are and the incredible potential we all carry within us. That's why I'm reaching out to you now. I want you to feel what I'm saying, not just read it. Go to my website, dan.com, and feel the energy behind the message. I need your support, but more than that, I need you to take action. We all need to grow up, to take responsibility for the world we live in, and to start making our voices heard. It's not enough to sit back and wait for others to act. We are the change we seek in the world. Every single one of us has a role to play. So here's what I'm asking you to do. The next time you see something wrong, pick up the phone. Call your congressman or senator, whether it's their local office or their office in Washington. Let them know you are against the things that harm humanity, the war, child trafficking, injustice. Stand up and speak out. We need to come together to stop these atrocities and work towards peace. If we're in the midst of another war in the Holy Land, with Israel fighting on two fronts instead of one, what does that say about the state of religion, institutions, and governments? They have failed us, and they are failing humanity. But we don't have to accept that failure. We can choose to take action. We can choose to make a stand, to be part of something bigger than ourselves. We can be the voice for the voiceless, the light in the darkness. We can be the change agents the world so desperately needs. You may feel like a single drop in the ocean, but remember, every wave starts with a single drop. That's why I'm here today, pushing for this. I'm not doing it for me, and I'm not doing it for glory. I'm doing it for all of us, for the future generations who will inherit this planet, for the children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren who deserve to live in a world where love, peace, and justice are the guiding forces. The time to act is now. There is no more waiting. There is no more hoping someone else will take the first step. And if you're inspired by what you've heard today, I encourage you to visit Danny.com and learn more about the Brinkley Center, a place where we can come together to help heal the world and awaken to the truth of who we are. In closing, I want to remind you that you are not alone. We are all part of this journey together. The more we come together, the more powerful our collective energy becomes. I ask for your support, not just for me, but for a cause that is bigger than any one of us. Let's make this world a place of healing, love, and truth. It starts with us. So let's take action. Let's be the change. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. What you've just heard isn't some abstract idea. It's the truth. A truth that can change your life if you choose to embrace it. The world is shifting, and the time for action is now. Every moment you hesitate, you lose the opportunity to be part of the light that will guide us through the darkness. If you felt something stir in you while watching this, if you feel the call to be a part of something bigger, don't just sit back. I need you to comment below. Let me know what's on your heart, what you're ready to do to make a difference. Like this video if you believe we're all capable of making a real change. Share it with everyone you know, because these are the messages that need to be heard. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button now. Don't wait. This is more than just a channel. It's a movement to awaken to the truth of who we are and what we're capable of. Every time you engage with this content, every time you share it, you're spreading light. And trust me, you're doing God's work. So go ahead, leave a comment, share your thoughts, and hit that subscribe button. I promise you this, when you take action, you are not just changing your life. You're being a part of something far greater than yourself. And who knows, maybe by sharing this, you'll inspire someone else to step into their true purpose and join the light bearers of this new age. Let's create a world where we don't fear what's next, but embrace the eternal truth that we are all connected, that we are all here for a reason, and that we are destined to rise above it all. Now that you've heard this truth, it's time to take action. You are part of something bigger than yourself. The fear of death is gone. The only thing left is the mission before us. Will you step into your purpose? Will you choose to be a light in the world? The world is waiting for your change. Let's rise together and create a future filled with love, peace, and truth.